In a dramatic and unprecedented turn of events, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro was captured by United States forces in Venezuela and transported to New York, where he is set to face criminal charges in the U.S. justice system. The operation, which involved U.S. military strikes and the involvement of elite units, has reverberated around the world, igniting intense debate over legitimacy, international law, and the future of Venezuela. In the early hours of January 3, 2026, the U.S. launched a large-scale military operation targeting Maduro's government in Caracas. According to multiple reports, this included precision strikes and a coordinated extraction effort involving the U.S. Army's Delta Force, a highly trained special operations unit. President Donald Trump publicly announced that both Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, had been captured and flown out of Venezuela. The pair were taken aboard U.S. military aircraft and subsequently arrived at Stewart Air National Guard Base near New York. Maduro was seen in handcuffs and shackles upon arrival and is being held pending a court appearance. Maduro and Flores are expected to be arraigned in the Southern District of New York, where they face a series of serious federal charges. U.S. authorities have unsealed indictments accusing them of various crimes, including narco-terrorism, cocaine importation conspiracy, and weapons offenses. The indictment also names several close associates and family members, reflecting decades of alleged involvement in corruption and drug trafficking networks. President Trump framed the operation as a long-anticipated effort to bring Maduro to justice. Trump stated that the U.S. would temporarily run Venezuela during the transitional period, including overseeing its oil resources, though he provided few specifics on how this governance would unfold. Attorney General Pam Bondi pledged that Maduro and his wife would face the full force of American justice, referencing long-standing indictments and evidence compiled by the Department of Justice. In Caracas, allegations of kidnapping and illegitimate aggression reverberated from Venezuelan officials. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez asserted that Maduro remained the country's democratically elected leader and demanded proof of life for both him and Flores. Venezuela's Supreme Tribunal of Justice later recognized Rodriguez as interim president, condemning the U.S. action as a violation of Venezuela's sovereignty. Global reactions to the U.S. operation have been sharply divided. Supporters argue that the move ends years of authoritarian rule and brings a notorious alleged criminal to account. Venezuelan expatriates and some regional leaders have expressed relief or support for the change. Critics, including Mexico, Cuba, Russia, and legal experts, argue that the military intervention and capture of a sitting head of state without United Nations authorization violates international law and sets a dangerous precedent for global norms. The United Nations Security Council has signaled an emergency meeting to discuss the crisis, highlighting concerns over sovereignty, regional stability, and the legality of the U.S. action. Reports indicate that U.S. strikes in Venezuela caused civilian casualties and infrastructure damage, particularly around the capital, Caracas. Initial tallies suggest that dozens of people, including non-combatants, may have been killed during the operation. The events have also triggered anxiety across the Caribbean and Latin America, with neighboring countries bracing for potential refugee flows and political instability. Colombia, for example, deployed forces at its border in anticipation of heightened movement. Maduro's capture and arrival in New York mark a historic milestone in U.S.-Venezuela relations and international politics more broadly, reflecting deep fractures over sovereignty, the rule of law, and the global fight against corruption and drug trafficking. The coming days are likely to be defined by legal battles in U.S. courts, diplomatic responses from world powers, and internal disputes within Venezuela over legitimate governance and the country's future.